What's up, Inkie peeps? It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and I'm back with my inspiration from a picture book series. And today's inspiration is kind of from an illustrator in general. So this guy, Oliver Jeffers, is one of my favorite illustrators of all time. This is probably my favorite aesthetically. It's my favorite book of his, and it's called The Incredible Book Eating Boy. It was one of my favorite stories to read to the kids in my class, and they loved it because it's a bit silly. It's about this boy who eats all these books and gains all the knowledge from the books, but then he starts to eat too many books and all of his knowledge gets muddled, and it's a really sweet story, and I love the way that it's presented. It's got a very art journal-y feel to it. So I'm using Oliver Jeffers as an inspiration today. This one is Archie's favourite book, and as you can see, it's been through the wars a little bit, but this is stuck, and this is by far his favourite book of all time. He's always loved it, and it's, as you can see, it's just a bit of a silly story about all these things that get stuck in a tree. But I really love the style of his illustrations and the almost coloured pencil-like quality with some of them. I know that he does create a lot of his pieces digitally, and I can't, of course, replicate that on a piece of paper, but I'm going to have a little play around. Now, this is a new book. This is a sneak peek because this was a recent book that I bought for my birthday. Aaron and I went down to this ginormous bookshop in Sydney, and I treated myself. Well, Aaron bought me this for my birthday, I should say, and it was a special little treat because it was quite pricey, but I have a great stash of art books and quite a lot on children's book illustration. It was something that I always wanted to get into when I was younger. I wish I did. I wish I'd gone to uni for fine arts or graphic design, something of that nature, but alas, I didn't. And I love to collect books about different artists. So this one will also give me a bit of inspiration for today's art journal page. So I have collected my 8x8 creative Dilutions creative journal, and I've also just grabbed a bunch of different collage papers. So these are book pages, there's a takeaway menu, there's some dictionary paper that I had printed on, and I'm attacking this page today because, my golly gosh, it's driving me crazy. I can't stand this page, and I know that in my heart I can't abandon pages for too long, and this page was done at an actual in-person class taught by Diane Reevely, and I don't really like diamonds, and I wasn't a fan of how this turned out. So I'm just going to cover it up because, like my motto always says, you can always cover it up, and today I'm doing just that. So I haven't gessoed the page. I'm using some Liquitex matte gel medium and just a big fat paintbrush to slap some of those bits of scrap paper down. You could also do this same thing with scrapbook pattern paper if you wanted to. I'm just going with more book pages just to kind of be inspired by that Incredible Book Eating Boy picture book. Oliver Jeffers has a ton of picture books, and another one that I love is The Day the Crayons Quit. And what else is there? I'm trying to think. Oh, there's a little one with a little penguin in it that's really cute as well. I can't remember the name of it. But I thought this illustration was really sweet. I had slightly been hoarding it because I thought it looked like me and Archie. Archie and I should say. But I've just got to use it. I've got to get it on a project because that's my big thing for this year. And join me, peeps. We can do it. We can use the bits we've been hoarding, because otherwise, like I've said before, if we leave them too long, then they're not our favourites anymore, and we don't want to use them anymore. So I'm going to try and really use things up that I've been saving on to for the perfect project, and just put them on a project that makes me happy. So I decided here to also include some of that musty kind of colour. I wasn't planning on it. I was planning on this being predominantly white and blue tones with some, of course, some black in there as well. But it did take a bit of an orangey, mustardy turn, and that's all right. I think that's the fun of having an art journal with no rules. You just kind of slap stuff in and see where the page takes you sometimes. It is nice to do planned pages. I like to do planned pages sometimes, but majority of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, I just slap stuff together. Now this, I kept this in because I wanted to show you a little fail. I tried to draw a little character, and the character ended up looking a little weird. So I didn't end up using it. I was basically copying the body of this little person and adding a ponytail. But it's definitely something that I'm just going to continue to work on. I'm going to have a look at some of his other picture books and things to see how he draws little people, because I do like the style that he draws in. So then I decided to pick up the book, The Incredible Bookheading Boy book again, and I was feeling a little, not down, but a little flat after my failed idea with the little girl character, and so I randomly opened up to this page, and I loved the trees. They just look so sweet and just basic, and I really like the shape of them and the lanky trunks. And the lanky trunks would be a great name for a band, by the way. Oh, that's a good name. Do you ever think of that? Do you ever think, sorry, we're on a tiny tangent. I promise it'll be tiny. Do you ever think of random words or phrases and go, oh, that'd be a great name for a band? Let me know in the comments if you've ever done that, what the name was, or if you know of a really random band name. P.S. It has just started pouring with rain here, so I'm sorry if you can hear the rain in the background. I wish I could turn down the rain, but alas, I can't. We're in autumn now here in Australia, and this might not be factual, but I feel like March and April are our rainiest kind of months. That might not be true, but I do feel like March and April always have a lot of rain, because I know from years past I've had to change a lot of birthday plans because of weather things, and this month in March we have had so many rainy days and really stormy days too. Back on track, I'm just cutting out this tree now, and I'm using some of my Prismacolor coloured pencils. I really want to use these more, however I'm a little, I don't know, I struggle to draw things realistically, and I think that's why I like Oliver Jeffers' style, because it's a little bit cartoony and a little bit fun, but it still kind of looks like that realistic image. You know what it is, it's not too abstract, but it still looks quite cartoony. So then it becomes the big stenciling. Now my arm almost fell off when I was doing the stenciling for this, and I've sped this up quite fast so that you don't have to watch me struggle with stenciling for so long. I've been using my white gesso a little bit lately for stenciling with white. I just find that it can give a bit of a more opaque finish. With this one, I did go over some sections again, just to really make sure that you could see the white, particularly because a lot of these papers, let's be honest, they were already white, so not really anything was going to happen when I put the white on top of them. But a girl can pretend that it has a large impact, and in the end I think it does really add to the page. And by stenciling on top of your collage papers, it brings it all together, and it makes them look like everything belongs there, and you haven't just accidentally dropped a piece of paper onto your art journal page and it's landed on some glue and it's just accidentally there. So I'm just going over, and I really like when I do stenciling to make it bridge over the spine of my art journal, and I just think that's a way to make your pages blend together if you do double page spreads. Actually, I'd be interested to know, my art journaling peeps, how many of you do single pages and how many of you do double pages? Of course, there's no right or wrong. We all have different styles and things, but I'd be really interested to know how I only ever do double page, and that's all I know and have experience with, really. But I'd love to know how many people didn't, because that's something that I'd be interested in challenging myself with in the future. So you can see there, my stencil was already dirty, and so I thought, why not, let's stencil another page, because that'll give me something for a future time. I should also add that at this point I had finished my Use It Up journal, which is very exciting. I can't wait to show you that video. I just edited it. I haven't voiceovered it yet, but the voiceover is 45 minutes long. So we're going to go on some adventures of tangents in that video, I think. But I have finished my Use It Up journal, and that Use It Up journal, I'm pretty sure I started it before I was pregnant with Archie. I think. Old school inklets, let me know. I know it was at the old house, and I'm positive it was before I was pregnant. Positive. So it's been going for probably almost 3 years, and it's my first Use It Up journal. I have got a second one, which has mysteriously walked somewhere in my craft room temporarily, and I can't locate it. But I'm not going to start a third one, because I know as soon as I start a third one, I'll find the second. So that will be this week's adventure to try and find it. So here I just glued my trees down with my Scotch Tacky quick dry adhesive, and I decided to do a bit of a scribbly hill I just felt like my trees needed something to ground them on the page a little bit, and I just felt like doing some doodly lines, but I didn't want to do a doodly border to anything on this page. So I grabbed my, I think it's a graphite pencil. Oh, it's a Stabilo All, A-L-L pencil. That's what it is. However, be careful if you do have one of those, because they are not waterproof, and as soon as you touch that baby with anything wet, splatters, water, paint, anything, it will start to run and smudge. Found that out, and also made that mistake several more times than I probably should have realized. I felt like my doodly scribbly hill was feeling a little bare, and so I decided to grab a quote from one of my favorite Instagram peeps to follow, Morgan Harper Nichols, and I wrote one of her quotes along the hill, and I really love the way it looks. I think that it kind of reflects the in The Incredible Book Eating Boy, there's quite a few pages where the words are getting all muddled up and there's just kind of chaotic letters and things everywhere, and that kind of reminds me of that. I felt like I needed another hit of yellow, because I've got or orange, let's call it yorange. Needed a little bit of orange, and I had the trees. I had that sticker on the right hand side. I just randomly found it on my desk. It was from a enamel pin haul that I just filmed, and I felt like sticking it on because, as you know, yellow is not a colour that I generally reach for, and I thought, well, I've got the opportunity to, I'm going to plonk it on, but I just need a little extra something. So then I found another quote, and this big piece of graph paper up the top was very blank. I do like blank space, I do like empty space. However, I don't know, it was something about this one. I think because all of the other papers had text on them or the illustration, and it just kind of stuck out a bit like a sore thumb, and I just needed to give it a little something. So I grabbed just a normal lead pencil for that one. If I had used the graphite pencil, it would have been too dark and too in my face and too bold, and I wanted it to look like it was in the background, and then I wanted to make it look like it was even more in the background, and I grabbed some of my white gesso and I just very, very lightly slopped it on the top of that writing, not giving it too much working in with the brush, because the lead pencil does smudge a little bit. It kind of goes a bit blurry, and I just wanted to fade it in a little bit without compromising the crispness of the letters. So then there's extra white paint, and you know your girl can't put the paintbrush down ever. So we just add a little bit of white paint here, there and everywhere, a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I just felt like down the bottom here it needed something across the spine, just a little bit of white across there. And I also wanted to cover up the burgers at the top because it was so obvious that it was a burger menu, and I just wanted to calm it down a little bit. So if you ever want to calm down your background a little bit, water down some white acrylic paint or some gesso, and you can really fade things into the background. Maybe practice on a scrap piece of paper that you don't like as much first, but it's a great way to kind of make a bit of a definition between the background and the foreground of your picture. Then I grabbed my little Jane Davenport watercolours, and I've been really enjoying doing splatters with my black watercolours lately. I think because although I really, really love black paint, and I'm going through a black paint phase, black splatters are scarier than just black paint strokes. And I think because they're quite unpredictable. However, if you use black watercolor as opposed to black India ink or acrylic paint or something a lot thicker, you have the ability with watercolor to kind of soak up a lot of it and turn it into kind of a grey tone if splatters don't exactly position themselves where you wanted them to, or go a little bit crazy, which they often do. Splatters, let's be real, they sometimes like to tease us with where they put themselves on the page. And so I do like experimenting with that. So if you're a bit nervous to venture into full ink black splatters, try some watercolor paint. And then I realized that the trunks of the trees were this beautiful kind of purpley blue color, but I had none anywhere else. And so I just grabbed a Posca paint pen and I'm just doing some little dashy bits here and there. And the page is complete, and I have black splatters freaking everywhere. They're all over my iPad, they're all over my desk, my phone, my watercolors, everything. They were everywhere. But I've since cleaned most of it up. I'll occasionally find a black splatter that I haven't discovered, like on my bookshelf today. Realised they had splattered all underneath the shelf above where I was looking. But that's all for today, peeps. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. Bye!